There are a lot of old songs that are deeply problematic in terms of how they like to model relationships for us. And there's one particular Beatles song that I have always found an absolute banger, but is so incredibly problematic in hindsight. It's the song Oh Darling. And we're going to look at it today because why not use British men harmonizing in the 60s to unravel our deeper psychological patterns and also look at the deeper spiritual layers that exist? Let's start out with just the first line and the first chord. The first chord is actually an augmented chord, which is so incredibly hopeful, like, hey, I'm going to pitch this to you. Let's see if you actually take it. And the first line goes, oh, darling, please believe me, I'll never do you no harm. I don't know about you, but if somebody starts off a repair with that line, there's a part of me that thinks that they have already done me harm, whether that's physical, mental, or emotional, and maybe they shouldn't be leading with that if they really want to develop the empathy that they have, because that is a very typical line for abusers to use when they're trying to repair. The bridge, he is literally screaming at the person who he's trying to repair with, and he is making himself the victim. Very classic. He says, when you told me you didn't need me anymore, well, you know, I nearly broke down and cried. And then he escalates in both lyric and pitch. When you told me you didn't need me anymore, well, you know, I nearly fell down and died. This song was written by Paul McCartney. It's credited to Lennon McCartney. And the whole week that they were recording it in Abbey Road Studios, Paul would come in and sing it to get a more gravelly tone to it. And it was interesting because John Lennon actually said that Paul could have sung it better. He didn't like the way that it was sung on the actual album because he said it was more his type of song to write and to record, which, you know, is indicative in and of itself. So what can we learn from this song besides the fact that it is highly problematic? Let's talk about trauma bonds. Trauma bonds are a really fascinating concept and a very fascinating thing. It's also a very, very difficult thing if somebody who is stuck in a trauma bond knows, because trauma bonds are the normalization of relationships and the familiarity of relationships that, despite the fact that they are incredibly toxic and possibly malignant to both partners, find it incredibly difficult to leave. Whether that's because the couple resonates in addiction together, whether it's because they resonate in violent outbursts or old familiar tactics for arguing, there are many difficulties in actually being able to leave a trauma bond. It is estimated that it takes 7 to 8 times to actually leave one before the departure sticks. So you keep going back, and every single time that you go back, you find that your self-worth erodes, that your ability and your confidence to be able to live a life without that person erodes. And it's indicative also of an energetic stickiness, that we recognize that the ties that we create with people are not just physical, emotional, and mental. They are energetic. And sometimes they are incredibly difficult to break. We can see that trauma bonds exist not just in romantic relationships or even in familial relationships. They also exist in business relationships. If you have ever been with a boss or a company that feels extremely toxic, you get to a point where you can't handle it anymore, you're about to leave, and then they're like, oh, no, we promise your promotion's coming. Or, oh, we'll actually give you a promotion, but it's only going to be a little bit, or something like that. They're doing something to basically say, you know, I'll never do you no harm, I promise, it's all going to be okay. And they're going to somehow make themselves, oh, if we leave, I don't know what I'm going to do if you leave. We can also see it with our own inner villain and dark side work. When we see that we are trying to break a behavior, or we're trying to separate from an inner villain and invert an inner villain that has a very toxic behavior that it brings out in us, we're trying to separate from it, but we feel this trauma bond that we keep wanting to go back. That familiarity, that energetic tie to go back to what is familiar makes it incredibly difficult to feel progress on your self-help journey. And so when we have these inner villains, these outdated strategies that we are looking to move beyond, these outdated beliefs and limiting beliefs that we are looking to move on, you can ask yourself first, what are the beliefs that I hold true that actually are not true? Do I believe that there are only such things as starving artists? Do I believe that I have to make money and that ultimately I will be happy as a result of that? And ultimately, no matter how many times Paul tells us that he will do us no harm, these outdated strategies are something to think. So remember, when it comes to Oh Darling, music is a spell. It embeds in your soul the more and more that you sing it. Your body doesn't know the difference between you singing something and the familiarity that you create with the concept. I will still listen to Oh Darling, but I will listen to it with a little bit of distance with the understanding of the fact that I don't want that to become a familiar tone or that of familiar words inside of me. And when it comes to your outdated strategies or your trauma bonds, recognize that if it takes 7 to 8 times to break, you may as well start now. Recognizing the outdated strategies within yourselves or the relationships with yourself, your partners, your company, anything along those lines that you are ready to break free from, it is absolutely worth it. I'm Kristina Wiltsee. I'm a life alchemist, and I help people with trauma bonds and recognizing their outdated strategies, helping them to move through when they are actually done with things. This is Songs from Beyond. This is a particular song from, this may be a dark song from beyond, but I still love it. Oh, darling. I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks so much for listening, and have a wonderful day. Oh, and also like and interact, please, because it helps our channel.